Dave again. In video one, we talked about why we prioritize building relationships in our programming. In video two, we talked about the characteristics of a relational leader. And now in this video, we'll be talking about how do we prioritize this? What does it look like in our programming to prioritize relationships? And there's two elements to this that I want to look at. The first is the ways that we plan in advance, that we prepare to prioritize relationships. And the second being in the moment when we're with students, how can we prioritize relationship building? So that first, in planning ahead, the first is when we're showing up to the programming and whatever that may be, after school program, Sunday school, youth group, something in between, is we want to be prepared for the day, be prepared for the programming. And that way we're able to be fully present with students rather than scrambling to finish prep, right? If we're trying to pull together that last minute thing and this last minute thing is there trickling in, we're not able to prioritize that connection with them. But if we're ready, that connection with the students can be the priority when they walk in the door. The second element is having a regular routine, having a routine to the program, maybe even assign. My wife will talk about this in a different video, but assign with the schedule for the day. But when we establish a routine, when students know what's expected, first, second, third, when they know what comes next, they know what transitions are supposed to look like, less of your interactions with them have to be about giving orders and correcting students, and if they know what they're doing, you're not having to be trying to get them back in line or whatever, right? So you can, if you have consistency in your routines, it opens it up where your connections with them are positive rather than just correcting and giving orders, that sort of thing. I like to start the program with an activity, have attendance right away, and the main point in that is that we want to keep track of what students are there, all that, but we want to anticipate their arrival. We want them to feel welcome and celebrated as they arrive. From the moment they show up, they know that we care, that they're there, and we get right into doing something fun together. The next element is I really encourage, depending on what the program looks like, but if you can have specific student and leader assignments like groups, that's if it's applicable for your program, having specific and consistent student leader pairings allow for relationship growth over time. Recently, as at the church service with my 5-year-old son, and across the service, or across the room, he saw Mr. Don. He's like, "Dad, it's Mr. Don. It's Mr. Don." And Mr. Don is one of the leaders at the preschool program that my son is in, and it was specific, right? So he knew that person, right? He knew Mr. Don, and why was he excited? Because Mr. Don was always excited to see him. So if we have those consistent relationships, and pairings, it allows those relationships to go deeper week over week over week. Next is, I want us to keep contact info, have a prayer request journal, have various kind of bookkeeping type of things where we can keep track of what's going on in kids' lives. We are able to reach out to them, reach out to their parents. I encourage you to think about if you have some kind of regular in-church programming or whatever it is, consider outside activities, meaning not just outside, in nature, but outside of the regular programming and outside of your regular church building or whatever it may be, whether it's field trips, having game nights, those outside activities really help deepen relationships because you kind of break through. There can often be an assumption that a volunteer or a leader is there because they have to be or something, where you get in a different context and it's showing, wow, you care about spending time with me. And there can be so much great relationship growth that can happen in an outside activity that you might not see in the programming. If you're doing that, you should have at least 2 leaders present when you're outside the regular programming, just for accountability and structure and everything. And last is I encourage you to have a parent day. We are really in partnership with parents, right? Whether the parents of our children are believers or not, we're working together with parents for the good of the kids. And having a parent day is something where we can build relationships with the whole family and have that connection there. And especially if it's unbelieving parents, like let's connect them with the church body. Let's have those relationship web grow beyond simply those kids. So that's the planning ahead aspects that can help set us up for success in building relationships. The next section is in the moment, right? So what do we do when we're at our programs with our students? And the first is we want to use our students' names. My wife's grandpa always said the best sound in the world is the sound of your own name. And it's something where I see you, I'm happy to see you. So use students' names regularly, consistently, so they know we care about them. They're a specific person that we are happy to see. The next is doing what the kids are doing, right? So want you to picture 2 programs with me, and you probably have been to, you've seen one of each of these. The first is the parents. It's more of the chaperone approach, and it's what I say. They're keeping the walls up, right? So their parents are in a group, or the volunteers, leaders are in a group, and they're leaning against the wall. They're just kind of talking amongst themselves, unless there's some issue with the kids, right? Or if they got to do a task, whatever. But they're sort of in their own world, and they're there to make sure that there's, got the correct body count, and to make sure they don't tear down the building, right? But they're not engaged, right? So then the second program is picture where as kids come in, there's adults welcoming them, and whether it's a craft, it's a game, whether it's a meal, whether it's a lesson, those kids and the leaders are together. When they're moving to another portion of it, the kids and the leaders are going together, and those leaders are asking the kids questions. What's a highlight and low light from your week? They're playing dodgeball or balloon volleyball or whatever it may be with the students, right? If the students are coloring, sit at the table and color with them, right? So we want to do everything the kids do. We're there to engage, right? We're there to build relationships, not simply keep the walls up. And don't watch from the sidelines. Get in there with the kids. Next in the moment is look to praise the kids, right? And seek to affirm them, right? And this isn't just, we're not trying to just focus on their self-esteem or something, right? But what I'm saying is we want to watch for real things to affirm the kids. I don't know about your programming, but I know a lot of the kids I've worked with, if kids coming from poverty or hard places in the city, they may not have people consistently speaking specific truth about who they are, right? And this is just, there's the general level of, wow, you are so loved. I'm so excited to see you. Great job on that craft, whatever. But also look for specifics, right? To call out. To try to catch them doing something good and celebrate it, or notice, wow, the way you shared, that was so great. How you didn't just keep that to yourself, but you look to share with someone else. I think that is so great, and that is the heart of God. Wow, you were so quick to serve someone else. I love that. That's what Jesus talks about. He talks about us being a servant. That is so great. And so look to catch that, and that's we're putting money in the bank, right? For when we have to make withdrawals, we have to correct them. But it also we're helping with accurate, true identity formation for the kids, right? Next is you want to include kids in tasks where possible, whether it's handing out supplies for the craft or you need to put away chairs. And this is a great example. I had a young second grade boy in programming years ago, and I'll call him Brandon, and he's just a bouncy kid, right? All over the place. And I found myself, it's like, oh, no, Brandon, we're not done. Oh, yeah, come back. Oh, And when I caught it, I realized I needed to correct it. And one, I needed to front load of him knowing what was expected of him in a given time. But then I tried to just include him. He had a lot of energy. That's not a bad thing, right? But I just helped steer that. And I said, hey, Brandon, can you help with this cleanup? Can you help put the chairs away? Oh, that's so great. Thanks, buddy. Oh, we need a setup for the game. Can you go get the balls and set them up on the line? Like, oh, so awesome. Awesome job, buddy. And so then it could be a positive rather than a negative. Um, yeah, I think at the end of programming, I always try to end on a positive note. That's the next aspect, is just look to end on a positive note. Whatever's happened, right? We will all have those weeks where you just are counting down the seconds till it can be done because it feels like everything has gone wrong and you just feel like, see you when I see you. But look to end on a positive note. Maybe we call something called family time where we round up and just try to send the students off on a relational high note. You know, we're always glad to see them. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a great week. Whatever it is, have that positive note to end. And then finally is, again, just a reminder to be persistent, right? Kids don't always show us how they're feeling. They don't always want to trust us, right? It takes time. So just being persistent, not to bug the kids into a relationship with us, but to know we're going to be committed. We're going to be a steady, faithful presence on their highs, their lows, their week in, week out. We're going to be persistent with them. So that's it's, yeah, considering the whole here, I just encourage you, prioritize relationships. It's how Jesus did it. The gospel is caught as much as it's taught. Let's be people that our students will catch the gospel from, and let's be intentional in our planning and in our in the moment, so that our students, so we have the opportunity to build relationships with our students. So the video will end here, but I'd love for you to take a few minutes, if you can, with someone else or just journaling, and write down, what's something that stood out from the lesson and from this section specifically. What's one or two of those elements that you'd like to start incorporating more into your programming?